Well, being a content creator or influencer has become a popular and lucrative career option, but with the ever-changing digital space and social media popularity lifespan, what does it really say? Well, what does it really take to stay relevant? As we wrap up Youth Month, our producer Apio Honono spoke to social media head at VMLY and R Africa, Lebogang Mabeba, about what it takes to lead one of Africa's brand and advertising companies.
2 decades ago, social media was not a significant phenomenon. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, none of these existed. Some would say that was a simpler time when people actually spoke face to face instead of sending each other DMs or talking via the inbox. Today, I am in conversation with a social media head at VMLY&R. Her name is Lebogang Mabeba. Come with me. As I mentioned earlier, we continue with our youth-focused conversations, and today we are in conversation with VMLY&R's head of social media. Her name is Lebogang Mabeba, and we will be unpacking career options in social media and branding, as well as her telling us how she became one of Africa's leading social media heads. Lebu, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Let's get right into it. Let's start by getting into who you are, what it is you do, and tell us more about the company VMLY&R.
So I always introduce myself as Lebogang, the human first. I'm a family woman, a prayerful woman, and I'm also a successful woman. I call myself successful because I believe that in everything that I do, I need to do it with the mindset of the fact that I will succeed at the end. And true to that particular concept being a very strong part of my life, I actually didn't choose branding and advertising and social media. It actually chose me. I wanted to do psychology. I wanted to study psychology. I was adamant about it. But unfortunately, because of funds at home, couldn't get into that. But there was a way. Something happened leading to the next, and I finally studied brand building and management at Vega. But fast forward into my career, I came into the advertising space as a young junior brand strategist, and in not so long my curiosity and my drive to really know different things and challenge myself actually led me to a point where our digital strategist Siobhan Zernama at the time, an incredible digital strategist, taught me and said, you know what, I can see you're hungry, let me teach you about social media. And that's how I got into it.
You mentioned that it wasn't necessarily the first thing that you got into, but would you say, looking back right now, this was a great stepping stone for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I got into this space and I started really enjoying it, understanding the different facets of it. And let's remember that when I did start, social media wasn't as big as it is right now. I mean, when I started, I was doing content creation, paid media, and strategies for smaller brands. But now I'm handling accounts that are multi-million rand accounts. They have a lot of complexity, but it's also to show the growth that the social media department has experienced. And I'm one of those people that say, I don't want social media to be the ugly stepchild waiting for crumbs from the main table. Yeah. I am there to fight for social media to have a seat at the table. And with that, it's also about making space for the youth to have a seat at the table.
I love how you mentioned, social media wasn't as big as it is back then when you started. Yeah. To what it is now. VMLY&R is mostly an advertising agency, branding. Would you say social media has kind of taken over advertising, or the two not mutually exclusive? In this day and age right now, we have influencers, we have brand strategists. Do big brands or big companies still look for just advertising, or is it all going towards social media right now?
Truth be told, we're in the fourth industrial revolution, right? And that does mean that things are taking a more technological approach. But what that means is that it's not completely removing all the traditional media formats that have existed. In fact, what that does is that it just helps us carve a way in the marketing industry for us to become more in tune with the people that we're serving, right? Being customer centric, it enables us to gain more data, right? Because that's what technology does. It enables it reduces the time that you are able to deliver, because let's look at print 20 years ago. There are certain elements of print that have changed and have been optimized because of things such as automation, you know. So is social media a completely separate entity? No, I think it adds to the ecosystem. I think it brings a fresh approach to how we do marketing. And what I love about social media, that it actually gives us lifetime data. It gives us real-time data, information that we can work with. You know, it's not like you put out a TV ad, for instance, and you get the results at a much later point. With social media, you get the results right now. You find out whether things are working right now or not, and it has the agility for us to even test. And that's what I always say, that when you're a brand wanting to explore social media, firstly, it's very important for us to discover your why, right? A lot of brands want to be on social media just for the fun of it, right? But look at things such as influencer marketing. Even that element of marketing on social media needs to have a why. And that's why every piece of work that I do with the team is based on a strategy to define what it is that the business needs.
Walking into this building, the atmosphere is so relaxed. Everyone is, you know, it's a different space. It's not one of those offices where everyone looks stiff and people here look young and they're fun and they're vibrant. What would you recommend someone trying to break into a sort of industry like this, where they can be comfortable in who they are and express their passion and express who they are in the workspace fully?
So a couple of elements, right? First thing is, I mean, a lot of people are content creators anyway in their daily lives, right? I think people do get too stressed about how to create content, but there are opportunities for them to actually start creating content. And it doesn't mean, though, that just because you are creating content, now all of a sudden you can make dollars just because you are a content creator. There's a process. So one of the things I love telling my team is the fact that hard work pays off. And just because you have a degree, a diploma, or whatever type of certification in a particular industry or in a particular space within the industry, it doesn't stop you from learning all the others. I'm a head of social today, not because I just focused on social media, but I also had to up my business acumen in terms of understanding how those business strategies, those business problems that our marketing managers, our executive marketing heads bring to our table, how those can be translated into an answer to the consumer, because that's what it is at the end of the day. So as a young person who's sitting out there wanting to get into this creative space, don't just perfect your craft, what you're passionate about, but also invest time in understanding the full ecosystem of what you're practicing in. If you're going to become a content creator, understand strategy, because understanding strategy is what will make you separate you from the rest, you know. Understand how different tools work, for instance, because those will actually optimize your type of content. So it's not just about looking at what you do, but learn from others. Try and challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. It takes hard work to get here.
And I mean, here are all these awards to prove that you have been working really hard. Tell us about some of the campaigns that you've been involved in. VMLYNR is an Africa-based agency, but there are many other branches across the world. So you represent Africa. What is some of your proudest work that you've done in your career? And some of these, talk to us about some of these accolades that you've collected along the way. I need you to gloat. Please tell us all about it.
Okay, so firstly, I am very appreciative of the space that I work in, because there is such a strong collaborative spirit, in the sense that the awards that are on this table are not Lebohang's awards. They're not Jared's awards. They're not Atia's awards. They are a combination of skill sets, a combination of great minds, creative thinkers, creative solution thinkers, you know. So some of the awards that we've won are really testament to that. Some of the campaigns that I've worked on, for instance, Vodacom Next Level, they actually, Vodacom Next Level is actually an entity that speaks to the youth, right? It's Youth Month, so this is very relevant. And the campaign isn't just about showing up during Youth Month and then forgetting about the youth, but it is a campaign that is really entrenched in the insights of lived experiences of the youth, where the solutions that are provided to the youth are actually getting jobs, getting gigs. There's something called Get a Gig that we have as part of the Vodacom family, where it is a platform where young creatives can actually go on and find gigs that they can actually get paid for, right? There are data deals that are specifically crafted with the youth in mind, because let's be honest, our mothers would go to their laptops or even go to the newspapers for jobs, but these days it is all on the tip of their fingers, you know, it's all on their handheld devices. So what that means is that they need data that will enable them to actually find those opportunities, whether it is studying, whether it's chatting to a friend about an opportunity. But those are some of the campaigns that I remember having worked on, being involved in, that I really enjoyed, and how it focused on the youth, how it focused on empowering the youth. And there are many others. I mean, the content marketing space that we exercise in social media, it is enabling so many different opportunities for the youth to get involved, not only from a let's create a product or a service that will benefit the youth, but we collaborate with the youth on a daily basis. In our campaigns have an influencer leg that needs to be explored and answered. So that's where we actually involve the youth, because who are we to talk to a customer and not even have a lived experience and have the language to speak to them? So who better to come in and resonate with that particular consumer than the youth themselves?
I love it. Lebo, I want us to go back to Lebo the human. You have all of this going on. You are the head of social media for a global company, Africa-based. You are also a spiritualist. You are also a mother. You are a wife. You're a daughter. You're an entrepreneur. Where do you get the time to do it all?
Don't forget students.
Oh yeah, lecturer.
And
How do you do all of it? I mean, at such a young age, and you have so much on your plate, how do you manage to make sure that everything has its own time and you don't miss a beat? How do you do that?
I'll be very honest to say it's not easy, right? I'm juggling a lot of different roles in different spaces, but if there's something that always keeps me true to my journey, is that little girl who grew up in the rural area of Friede. I come from Friede, a place that people only know because of a Gupta scandal, right? because of the dairy farm scandal. But really, that is a place that I grew up in. I grew up being exposed to not having a flushing toilet, you know. That was my life. In fact, my son, the other day, we had gone to Friede and he was in a vascom. I was bathing him in a vascom. I don't know what a vascom is in English, but this is South Africa. Ke vascom. I was bathing him and he's like, "Oh, mommy, this is so cool." I'm like, look at the difference in perspective. So what keeps me true to who I am is that little girl, Atswang Friede, who really had just dreams to hold on to. And I watched my parents. My parents, the reason why we lived in Friede is because my dad is from Friede. He is one of the very few to make it out of that small place and make a big name for himself. And that's how we started Qalabota Trading and Projects, trading as New Leaf SA. We started that company with Dad out of very desperate times. You know, where you have 50 rand patanisa, where you have to really put things together to make ends meet. We started that company from that stage. And to look back at where we started and where we are today, absolutely incredible.
Lebo, in closing, anything else you'd want to achieve? What's next for you?
What's next for me? So I'm working on my goal of becoming a CEO. I'm working towards that. That's why people might have seen that in the different workspaces that I'm in, I'm very much about coming in, getting the work done, but not in isolating myself from the working environment and the people. I engage too with people, because even with my journey towards being a CEO, I am really intentional in terms about making sure that I'm building relationships with people.
Lebo, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being interviewed and having to inspire others out there.
Wow, that was our producer Apio Hono in conversation with social media head at VMLRY in Africa, Lebogang. Very inspirational story, isn't it?
I love that she says she wants to be CEO. Like, aim high, and she's about only 26 years old.
Yeah, and
so,
she will be.
And she will be.
She will be, yeah.
Looks like she has a good head on her shoulder.